Blog Talk Radio.
All right, I'm going to end the audio this evening. We're having a little bit of technical issues in the area with some inclement weather, and I think that's affecting the signal now. But anyways, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Golf Talk Live. I'm your host, Ted Odorico, and we've got a great show for you tonight. We are live every Thursday from 6 to 8 p.m. Central or 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern for those of you on the East Coast. We've got a great show for you tonight. We're not going to be doing the Coach's Corner segment as we normally do at the beginning of the show. Instead, I've got a great group on a panel here from the Adaptive Golfers Summit Group, and I'm going to introduce those in just a moment. But let me just remind everybody, as I said, we are live here for the moment anyways on blogtalkradio.com network. Easiest way to find us is go to blogtalkradio.com, type Golf Talk Live up in the search key, and that will take you to the main page and to the live broadcast. But for some reason, if you're not able to join us live, not to worry. Just go to blogtalkradio.com, Golf Talk Live, and just scroll down to the on-demand section, and you'll see the previously aired shows there, and you can listen to them when it's convenient for you. If you want to speak or call into the guests at any time during the live broadcast, you can do so by calling in at area code 646-716-4667, or you can reach out to me personally if you want. If you got any questions or comments about the show, you can do so by reaching out to me at ted.golftalklive@gmail.com. Or if you're somebody in the golf industry and you're interested in being a guest on the show, you can also reach out to me there at ted.golftalklive@gmail.com. And as always, I update on social media on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn as well. My Facebook page is Golf Talk Live Blog. Make sure you have blog on there. And my Twitter handle is Ted and Buck CEO, CEO being capital letters. And also on LinkedIn.com under my personal name, which is Ted Odorico. So you can find it there. Always update the shows with all of my upcoming guests and who's going to be on each and every week. So go to any of those social media outlets and you'll get updated on what's happening on Golf Talk Live. As I mentioned, we're not going to have Coach's Corner tonight, but we are going to have a very special group on this evening from the Adaptive Golfers Summit. Gianna Rojas is going to be joining us here in just a moment with a group of friends and business associates that she's put together in this summit. And as you may recall, a few weeks ago, Gianna was on with Cindy Miller and I, LPGA professional Cindy Miller and I, on the Women of Golf show on Tuesday morning from 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern. She was on a few weeks ago and sort of set the groundwork for tonight. And then tonight she's brought, as I said, a group of associates of hers who are going to talk about in a little bit more detail about the Adaptive Golfers Summit and some of the various programs available out there for those that fall into that category. So we're going to talk a little bit about that here in just a moment. But let me go through the motions, if you will, and read out a little bit on each of the guests joining me here tonight. As I said, Gianna Rojas, known worldwide as the One-Handed Lady Golfer and founder of Adaptive Golfers. And you may recall, as I said when she was on a few weeks ago, she was born in 1962 in Bath, Maine. She has a challenge. She was born without fingers on her left hand. Her father being a Navy person, traveled like any other military family, had to relocate every few years. So it was a very difficult time growing up, obviously having to move and make new friends as she went along. And it was obviously a difficult time growing up as well with some of the challenges that she was facing. But being the new kid and only having one hand often made her a target, of course, of bullying. Once she was even pushed into her locker at school, she mentioned on the show before, and was in there for several hours. So those types of events, of course, were very difficult for her growing up and obviously never forgotten. But on the upswing, she's used that some of those circumstances to help mold her character and fueled her desire to be able to help those that were facing similar challenges like the ones she's faced as a child. And back in the early 70s, she was the poster child for the state of Florida from 72 to 76. A child who needs a hand gets one when given to the March of Dimes was the tagline to help raise awareness and funds for the research to help prevent birth defects. Gianna received some of the testing that was supporting through research and about why so many more babies were born with limb deformities. At one of the national photograph shoots that she did in Florida, Gianna met the king of golf, the late Arnold Palmer, And little did the little girl know that golf would be such a passion in her life as she got older. And we're going to talk a little bit about that when she comes on. Also joining on the show is David Windsor. He's the PGA of America teaching professional and expert adaptive golf coach. Let me just tell you a little bit more about him as well. David instructed many adaptive golf classes on a weekly basis for the physically and cognitively challenged juniors, adults, and disabled veterans since 2000. David is considered to be one of the country's foremost experts in teaching challenged individuals, or as they say, adaptive golfers. In 2007, David co-founded Adaptive Golf Tampa and Every Friday Golf Clinic in collaboration with James A. Haley Veterans Hospital, serving patients and inpatients and outpatients in the recovery and community transitions. Also joining tonight on the panel is Roger Sack. He's played for the last several years. He's played golf and enjoyed it, and works as the Director of Sports and Recreation Advocacy for the Central Florida chapter of Paralyzed Veterans of America. And he received a Paramobile from the Independence Fund and Stand Up and Play Foundation 5 years ago. Golf has changed his life, he said, and thanks to Anthony Netto, who was also a guest here on Golf Talk Live from the Stand Up and Play Foundation, he has been able to teach adaptive golfers for the last 4 years with the Paralyzed Veterans of America at the Stand Up Play Foundation, and works as their advisor with adaptive golfers. Also on the panel tonight is Mary Beth and Koberger. She is lost my place here. She's a PGA professional and a WITS certified personal fitness trainer. She began as a junior golf many years ago and has been a golf instructor for 30 years. She taught over 10,000 students and ran over 250 different golf programs. And in 2008, she opened her own golf school, To the Tee. She's married to PGA member Robin Koberger, the head professional of the Newton Country Club. And also on the panel as well is Chris. Or actually, I apologize, Chris is not going to be with us tonight. And hopefully we'll have him on another time. Last but not least is Darren DeMalley. He's the owner and lead instructor of the Double D Golf Academy located in Harborview Golf Course in Little River, South Carolina. And let me just tell you a little bit more about him as well. The Academy is also the home to the Myrtle Beach chapter of the Stand Up and Play Foundation, where Darren is the program director. Darren has been a PGA professional for almost 20 years and maintains many certifications, including adaptive golf. The Double D Academy maintains a paramobile golf unit, which allows paraplegics and other individuals without the use of their legs to stand up and play golf. This not only assists with the ability to play golf, but also has served as a tremendous therapy for many of the challenged golfers as well. So without further ado, and that's all of the intros for my guests, please welcome to the show Roger, Mary Beth, Darren, David, and of course, Jonathan. Welcome, guys, to Golf Talk Live.
Oh, well, thank you very much. That's a mouthful.
Yeah, it was. I apologize if I omitted anything or if I missed something, guys. It was a lot to read out, but I appreciate you guys coming on. John, I'm going to start with you, if you don't mind. Just to maybe first talk about how you and why you put this summit together, and with this particular group, maybe give a little bit of highlight of some of the individuals here that are on the show, and then we'll get into some a little bit more questions as we continue on.
Sure, Ted. Thank you very much. First of all, thank you for the opportunity. I'm very honored that I get the opportunity to bring a little bit of light upon the adaptive golf subject as it is. I was, like I said, or you mentioned, I was born with no fingers on my left hand, and the only reason why I wanted to go out and play golf was just because my husband was playing so much. I went out and tried to find someone who could teach me adaptive ways of, learning to play golf, and there really wasn't anybody. So I had a friend of mine, which you've already had on the show, Pat Roquet. She challenged me to kind of take this to the next step. I learned how to play golf by adapting what people could teach me, but there was no one to teach adaptive golf out there. There wasn't somebody that I knew of. It wasn't anybody that I was aware of this is going back 15 years ago, maybe. And
right.
she said, well, you know what? You got something here. You taught yourself how to play golf based upon what other people could teach you. There wasn't a one-handed golf instructor out there. So I came up, and between her and I, we came up with the idea that, you know what, maybe there should be a resource hub for people who have challenges, no matter what they are, that we could kind of
well, let me ask.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, please.
Well, I wanted to put together an opportunity where people, me, the golfer, could find the resources that we need no matter what our category, if you want to say, or labeling is. And that's kind of how this whole thing just got started. And it just seems to be snowballing into something that is, I don't have one particular initiative. I'm not a golf instructor. I'm the golfer. So I'm out there trying to find resources to bring to the golfers so that they can say, okay, well, I'm a veteran, I'm an amputee, I'm blind. I mean, there's so many amazing initiatives that are out there and so many wonderful organizations that are out there, but they each have their own initiative. So I'm coming from the golfer standpoint, which is a little bit more, I can't say that I'm not an it. I don't have one initiative. All my initiative is to try to find the resources and bring together a collaborative effort of all the resources that are out there for people who have challenges.
Let me ask you, Jana, to share a story that you shared before on the other program about the young girl who has drawn some inspiration from what you're now doing. You had shared that with Cindy and I a few weeks ago. I'd really like you to share that story just to kind of put things in perspective a little bit for the audience.
Okay. Well, I had the opportunity to speak at a golf expo up in Saratoga Springs, New York. And I arrived, wee hours of the late night, wee hours of the morning, the day before the expo started. And I was given a booth, and I was given the opportunity to speak. And we had some news people that came in to cover my stories the day that I got there. And they aired the news, and this little girl who was 13 years old, who's very removed, very recluse, she doesn't have a lot of confidence to get out there. And the mother and her were watching the news this evening, and the girl saw me out there swinging a golf club because that's what they covered. And after the newscast was over, she said to her mom, she said, do you think maybe I can learn to play golf? And for me, I came in the next morning unbeknownst of what was going on. I didn't even get to see the newscast because they aired it before I even got out of the expo. And the next morning, this woman comes up and grabs me and hugs me, and she's shaking and crying, and she said, I have to tell you how much of an inspiration that you are. My daughter has less of an arm than what I have. I only have my fingers on my left hand missing. She's, I guess, above the elbow.
Right.
And she said that she's 13 years old, and she doesn't really have a lot of self-confidence. She doesn't put herself out there doesn't even want to get picked for the team because then she's not sure if she can even do that. So the fact that she saw me on the news and then told her mom, hey, do you think I can learn to do this, to me, just that's when I get my gift back, when that happens. Here's this little girl who has no confidence, and I was that 13-year-old girl. I got, like you mentioned earlier in the introduction, I got beat up, I got picked on. They call it bullying now. But here's this little girl that maybe now, because of golf, just as the the tool. Not necessarily it's because of golf, but it's the tool to help her get out and be able to do something that everybody else is doing. She's included. She doesn't have to wait to get picked for the team because guess what? Those girls that are making fun of her are standing behind her going, oh, my God, this lady's hitting a golf ball or this girl's hitting a golf ball. So, it's when something like that happens, it's when I get my gift back. But I'm hoping that I can inspire a few more people that are sitting around thinking, well, you know what, I can't, but you can if you want to. And golf is just the tool, but it goes way far beyond that. It's improving the quality of life, and it's also giving back or regaining or instilling dignity and confidence for somebody like that 13-year-old girl that doesn't want to get out there thinking she's not going to get picked.
Right, and as you pointed out, you want to
about it. Sorry.
Right. No, that's quite all right. Totally understandable. Obviously, you want to position yourself as a spokesperson, in that area to be able to foster and encourage other young girls and even other adults who may be faced with similar challenges that you have, and in some cases even more intense challenges, to know that there's still things for them that they can do in ways that golf has done for you. And Roger, I want to bring you into the conversation because, I had Anthony Neto, as I mentioned, here a few weeks back, and I know that you're very familiar with Anthony and you've worked with Anthony, but you obviously have your own challenges. I want you to talk a little bit about your challenges, just to give a perspective for the audience, and then talk about some of the things that you're doing and how you've been able to sort of get back into the game of golf through great foundations like the Stand Up Foundation, and how you're working through the Central Florida chapter for Paralyzed Veterans of America, and some of the work that you're doing there. Roger?
Yeah, a little over 25 years ago, I got hurt in the military, injured my neck, and it affected my extremities from the neck down to where I had weakness and a little strength in the right side. And so I've been in a wheelchair for 25 years now. But 10 years ago, I was invited to come out. Some friends were going to go play golf at a public course in West Virginia. And they said, hey, we're going to go play. Do you want to go? I guess you can ride along. I said, no, if I'm going to go, I'm going to play. I didn't really play golf, but I was going to figure out a way to play. So I found out that, one, they didn't have accessible carts. I had no concept of really how to hit a ball out of a chair, but it was challenging enough. I like challenges. So I would drag my chair beside the cart, transfer to the cart, hit the ball, and get back in. And if you transfer in and out of this cart for a long time, 18 holes, you're totally exhausted by the end of the time doing transfers in and out. About 5 years ago, I was introduced to the Paramobile, and through Stand Up and Play and the Independence Fund. And so one of the things that I found was this was a tool that gave me the ability to stand up and hit the ball properly, but also it eliminated my fatigue factor of having to transfer from one cart to the chair and back again. And it made golf fun. And a year after getting my carts, I had a stroke. But I loved playing golf. And golf became my rehab tool because I was a two-arm player, and I was determined that I was going to play two-armed again. And through help from what I learned through Anthony and Stand Up and Play and some other professionals, going out and playing on a regular basis, and was the encouragement that I needed because I was out playing with other disabled veterans and non-veterans with my new disability, but continuing my love for golf. And through that, we discovered, there's a lot of people who are elderly who played the game of golf for years and now don't have the ability to stand up and play, but they would love the game. And we have people who are in rehab right now that have lost their opportunity to be able to be to find a tool to get them back into life and find a new enjoyment in life. And the third one was through golf, we realized that, golf had been, there were a lot of inaccessibilities. We didn't have enough trained adaptive golf instructors in the country. We didn't have enough adaptive golf equipment in the country as far as carts on courses around the country. And the attitudinal barriers, that are still there that the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act, addressed. So this was some of the tools that we found as a resource, being an advocate for veterans and non-veterans through adaptive golf, that has brought us to Gianna and adaptive golfers. It is a tool now that, we're increasing the numbers of adaptive golfers in golf instruction. We're increasing the awareness of having a good accessible course and the need for adaptive carts so that people don't get pressure sores and finding the right cart that suits the needs of that course. And taking some of the fears out of disabilities and putting abilities in people's minds in the golf world.
Right, and Anthony had talked a lot about that as well when he was on the show a few weeks ago, and he talked about with the Paramobile how, as you just pointed out, relieved a lot of the pressure off of areas of the body that normally would have issues not being able to stand up, and that's why I think there's been such success with veterans like yourself. And by the way, thank you. Roger, for your service. It's always appreciated. Folks in the military, all of the service that you give. Mary Beth and David, I want to bring you into the conversation because you are sort of on the other side of the spectrum. You're both golf professionals. You worked in the business for many, many years. And Mary Beth, I'm going to go ladies first, obviously, but I'm going to start with you. This is something that really has kind of not been in the forefront in the golf industry. I'm also a golf professional as well, and this is really an area that's fairly new, to the PGA and even the LPGA. And there's a lot of instructors, as Roger just mentioned out there, that are not certified adaptive golf instructors. And David, I'm going to get you to talk a little bit more about that in just a moment. But Mary Beth, talk about really, how new this is and what are some of the programs that are currently available through the golf profession.
Okay.
If any.
There's not a lot. It is new. It's never really been tapped into before very much. I mean, they've had the veterans program, but nothing really structured for kids. So it's brand new, I think, in that way. But the things that are out there right now that I think we could do with the junior part of this is actually the classes that we already run and the leagues that we already run, the PGA Junior League, things like that, the camps is kind of encouraging that these children could be in these classes, and it would be good, for both them and the other kids. There's a lot, that both would get from this. To see, like Gianna said with herself, when that little girl saw her doing it with one hand, she was like, wow, then I can do this. Or a kid that maybe sees a kid doing something when they do have some sort of a disability and they're able to still do it. It might inspire them a little bit and make them realize, hey, these are, people just like us. And they may have to do it a little differently, but hey, they're still out here playing golf like we are.
Yeah, so, and golf, as Roger pointed out, right, golf is very therapeutic. And Gianna, you have mentioned that as well, and as did Anthony when he was on the program a few weeks ago. David, I want to bring you in here as our active golfer coach. Now, you've sort of risen to the challenge, if you will, and have become certified in that. Talk to us a little bit how it differs from sort of traditional coaching and what's sort of involved in becoming an adaptive golf coach.
Hey, that's a great question. Good one there, Ted. And yes, and I know you're an experienced coach. The way it looks, you're involved with the USGTF. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I know when you're approaching a student, or they're more or less approaching you looking for a lesson. It's really up to us to find out a few different things from a student's learning style, their expectations, and in this case, when we're dealing with folks from with all different abilities, we want to find out what those exactly are and what might be holding them back. If they're have a weakness on a left side or right side, balance disorder, you name it. You want to be able to build rapport with that student, and it's not just, hey, let's help your golf swing. It's individual first. It's the person first, and it's that relationship building. And once that's there, you can cover a lot of ground in a short period of time. So with
David,
one of
the things that.
No, go ahead.
No, go. Sorry, I wasn't sure if you. No, please finish your thought. I thought you had stopped, so I wanted to ask you a follow-up question. But go ahead, please continue.
Oh, I can stop and go anytime. But so if you're addressing a new group and you have some coaches to your left and coaches to your right, which is certainly a key aspect, you want them to also convey that message to, hey, let's all get into a small group setting and figure out what is what should we look for. If somebody does have a new prosthesis on their left side and they're a right-handed player, we don't want someone just to we don't want to just give them a golf club and say, hey, go ahead and take a swing and then have them stumble. We want to start from really from the ground floor and work their way up, make it comfortable for everybody.
I want to, David, maybe you can, and Mary Beth, please. This is sort of open mic, if you will, so feel free for anybody to jump in and add any comments they want. But let's talk about David and Mary Beth and John and Roger and Darren, of course. Let's talk about some of the misconceptions that are sort of floating out there. David, I'll start with you, and then Darren, I want you to jump in as well.
First thing that comes to mind from a golf course operator standpoint is they feel it's just going to slow down play.
There's not enough adaptive golfers out there to really market to, and a lot of them then have put it on the back burner from the standpoint of looking at an accessible car, doing some things to make their course more accessible. They feel like, they're not playing here. I don't see them. They're not calling me every day. But there is certainly a growing number of golfers of different abilities that are just waiting for golf courses to become more accessible. And one trend, it's moving from the back burner to the front burner quite quickly, and that's the United States Golf Association moving ahead to scheduling a national initiative for disabled golf tournament in 2020, and they are now examining programs across the country, which between the panel that you have on with us tonight, know quite a bit about, and they're looking to really make a surge to really find this population, and we're going to soon see even more coming out of the woodwork to play. So we can combat against those hesitations and those misconceptions. I can come up with an answer for those, but I'll let someone else chime in.
Well said. Jonna, why don't you just give us a very quick rundown? I know you may not have them in front of you, but just so that people understand just how many individuals out there that sort of fall into this category. We were talking about some of the stats that you had come across from, I think, one or two of the universities here in the United States, and you had talked about just how many challenged individuals there are here just in the United States alone, many of whom that obviously could very well have access to golf if the golfing community would just sort of open their arms, if you will, and be a little bit more assertive. And Mary Beth and Darren, I want to get you to talk about that as well. But just talk about some of the numbers, if you wouldn't mind, Jonna.
Well, actually, because you just mentioned that, I'm actually looking for those numbers right now. But, I mean, they were astounding numbers. I remember when we talked, Cindy Miller was totally flabbergasted by the amount of numbers of people that have challenges. And we broke it down into, how many women, how many children. One of the things that Mary Beth and I are working on is even just on a local level, trying to find out exactly how many children that are in the school system that are special needs children or have challenges that that they could actually benefit from the fact that they have an opportunity to go out and do something that everybody else is doing. Pardon me if I have to take a moment to fumble for that, but I
That's
think
okay.
actually,
I seem to recall, and I'm just going from.
It was in the, it was. There were very astonishing numbers of people that have challenges from all different age groups. It was a
I think it was.
And the,
I think it was something like 20. Yeah.
20.
Wasn't it Clemson University
million. No. Yeah, I mean,
Clemson University. Yes.
The Clemson one, I believe, was 56 million with disabilities across the board in the U.S., but they were looking at approximately like 20% of that.
22 maybe about, yes.
And they point out that there are 6 million, just in the veterans category, 6 million with some form of disability.
Why do you think, and I want to ask this sort of as a general question, why do you think that, I mean, obviously we're seeing more and more happening with the veterans now, which I think is fantastic. But, some of the challenges that we've expressed here tonight and that you guys have talked about in your summit have been here for decades and decades and decades. And I don't know whether there's any, I guess one answer, but it seems to me that you would think that golf being as therapeutic as it is for so many people, and Jonna, we've talked about this, golf really mimics life in so many ways. Some of the challenges that we face out in the golf course are very, but I guess I'm kind of dumbfounded when I think about this as an industry that's been around as long as it has, David and Mary Beth and Darren, being in the golf industry as well, that why has the industry been so slow to adapt themselves to this particular need? I mean, it's not like it just sort of, like a puff of smoke happened here, today. It's something that's been around for a long, long time. And with so many other industries that have adapted and businesses that have adapted, I'm just kind of confused as to why it's taken so long, do you think? Is there any thoughts or comments that you guys want to make as to why maybe the golf industry has sort of been slow out of the gate on this one?
Okay. Well, part of it, I think, the first, golf is very traditional, and people think of it as one set, kind of this is how it is. But also, I think the equipment, I don't think most people, including myself till a little while back, were, aware that there's special equipment that you can use that can help people that have different, issues going on, that make it a lot easier. And, so that's one of the big things. And then earlier someone had also said, I think most people feel like, they're going to slow us down. But I saw at the summit that is not the case. That's definitely not the case. So I think those two things, are big factors.
Ted, Darren DeMaile here. I want to just chime in a little bit about that. And
sure.
The way that I look at it is that golf, at least to me and a lot of people, is an elitist sport. Like, it doesn't take much to get a basketball and go to a basketball court and shoot hoops, or go to a tennis court and get a tennis racket and play some tennis. But golf, it's a different story. You have to pay a greens fee. You have to have equipment. There's a lot that goes on when you go to play golf. So it gets expensive at some point, right? So I think that's definitely a barrier for a lot of people.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely. You're right. That's a great point, because that is a hurdle, I think. Even if you don't have some of the adaptive challenges that we've been talking about. I hear that with everyday folk that would love to play golf, but it's just not as accessible as one might think. And it has been traditionally considered to be sort of an elitist sport, and now there have been certainly some barriers have broken down over the years with the onslaught of players like Tiger Woods, who've opened doors for a lot of people, and many of the great ladies on the LPGA that are working tirelessly, Cindy Miller being one of them, Kathy Whitworth, and some of the other senior ladies that have really helped pave the way. So there has been some doors that have opened, but this is an area, and Gianna, you and I have talked about this on the phone off air at some length, that there's really an opportunity here, I think, for the golf industry to really step up and say, they're always talking about growing the game, but they seem to be going after the same demographic. Well, here's a demographic that really, with the exceptions of the panel here tonight, that are obviously, and this is the reason you put the summit together, has fallen through the cracks. And, I'm, I guess for lack of better words, a man of action, and I believe that, you can talk about it, and you can talk about it, and you can talk about it, and, you guys here have obviously put your words into action by doing different things. So I want to give each of you an opportunity, and I'm going to go down the list. We'll start with David, and then Mary Beth, and then Darren as our golf professionals here. Just talk about some of the programs that are currently, adaptive programs that are currently available. David?
Yes, sir. Just to follow up on our last topic of, why, we missing the boat on, on some of the marketing and all that. I just always refer to that quote from Thomas Edison where opportunity is easily missed because it's dressed like overalls and looks like work. And that's right. Usually a lot to do with it because people don't specifically, in a lot of arenas, they don't market to folks with challenges because maybe they're just not quite either confident, they don't have the equipment, they're not prepared, and if they don't feel prepared, then they're not going to promote. But we are shifting that. We believe that more ground is being covered. And what we specialize in from my association, and whether it be my Adaptive Golf Association or our coaching academy, where we're providing that resource so we can explore more program development, which will lead into that question of what's going on, which I hope you set aside at least another 90 minutes to cover that category. But with what we do and how we feel that we're a valuable resource to Gianna's group, to her expansion, north and south from New Jersey to Myrtle Beach, what we provide to the PGA of America for our Department of Veterans Affairs sports grant program, several other communities across the country that we've worked with since 2007 to help them really expand and connect their community with consistent programming. That's the coach training and getting folks more confident, really enhancing that confidence level. So then golf professionals or just golfers that are passionate about the game that want to help others, they know that there's something very powerful in it, whether it be physical, mental, cognitive, that socialization. It's all there and then some, and it's just all in all elevating the accessibility aspect of it for more individuals to say, hey, look at that. I can do that. If he can do that or she can do that, let me in there. I'm going to get to that clinic and give it a shot. So it really helps people go beyond that risk-taking point, and hopefully we can get them engaged and golly, it's all about developing their passion for the game and letting it expand.
Right. Right. Mary Beth, I want you to chime in a little bit as well. Some of the things that that you're doing, and go ahead.
Well, one of the things that that Gianna and I have been reaching out to the PGA about their junior league. Like, I run a junior league, but getting it more, known that this is an opportunity for anybody, or even making it, adapting it so that it is available to everybody. We also talked about getting, an adaptive drive, pitch, and putt. They have the National Drive, Pitch, and Putt. Making so that can also work. Those are two areas that would get awareness and give, these kids things that they, like you said, they could see that they could do it by watching it, the other kids doing it, but they could also then get involved. So those are currently two of the areas that we were working on that are kind of bigger, that'll get out there more nationally.
Fantastic. Darren, and I know that you, in addition to running a successful golf academy in the Myrtle Beach area, are also that's home to the chapter of the Stand Up and Play Foundation, which you happen to be the program director of. What are some of the things that you're doing in your area to sort of open doors, if you will, to some of the challenged golfers out there?
Right. Well, unfortunately, I'm it down here, Ted. When I was first introduced to the Paramobile up at my golf academy in Long Island, and I moved down to Myrtle Beach, I wanted to get involved with the Paramobile again in the Stand Up and Play, and I thought it'd be a no-brainer. All I had to do was reach out to who was ever running the program down here and say, hey, listen, if you need any help, I'd love to participate. And come to find out that nothing was going on down here in Myrtle Beach. The golf capital of the world, and
right.
And it was just really shocking to me that this area, with as many golfers as it has nothing going on. And obviously here I am now running the program. I did something about it. So I raised some funds through a couple of my clients down here in Myrtle Beach, and was able to get a Paramobile. And now my golf academy is the only one in Myrtle Beach to have one available for anybody who wants to use it.
And you've obviously, had the opportunity to use it. And what's been some of the feedback that you've had thus far?
Right. So one of the I've had quite a few people come through the program, and one of the greatest things that's happened so far is a gentleman came and used the unit, and he was a very, very accomplished golfer, played in a U.S. Open when he was younger.
Wow.
And lost both of his legs above the knee, and never thought he'd be able to play golf again, and saw an article that was about the Stand Up and Play and my efforts down here in Myrtle Beach, and then decided to drop by the golf academy and ask some questions about the Paramobile. And I said, you know what, I'm going to change your life. Why don't you come next week? And of course he did, and had a great time, really enjoyed it. You could see it in his eyes. And about 2 weeks later, I got a phone call from his physical therapist. And he's like, Darren, what'd you do? I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, Charlie's life has been considerably altered. I'm like, I put him, did this, we hit some golf balls. He's like, you can't imagine the therapy that it did for him. So
right.
The director of the physical therapy program they're now going to do a big commercial on the physical therapy and the Paramobile and golf as a therapy down here in Myrtle Beach, and hopefully spread the word that the Paramobile is available for people to use, and people like Charlie will be able to have that kind of therapy.
That's fantastic. This is one of the things that really I found very interesting. As I mentioned earlier, I had Anthony Netto from Stand Up and Play Foundation on the show, and he talked about some similar stories. And Roger, I want to get you back into the conversation. I haven't forgotten about you, I promise. And I'd like for you to maybe give a little bit of it when you're kind of juggling 5 or 6 around. I'm trying to give everybody a fair shake here, so I apologize. But Roger, you have a very unique situation because you're in that category, much like Gianna is. Obviously your situation is a little bit different than hers, but you've had the same experience both personally and worked with some of the other veterans. How satisfying is it, obviously for yourself, but for some of the other veterans that you've had come through your programs and through your facility that have been able to get back out on the golf course that maybe once played and maybe then gave it up because they thought with some of the challenges they were faced with, they were never going to be able to play again, and you've now sort of reopened that door again. What's been some of the feedback that you've received? And tell us a little bit about, again, how it's really helped you.
The Stand Up and Play Foundation partnered with the Paralyzed Veterans of America and doing a Paralympic training in West Virginia. So we brought over some therapists from the VA, and we had a veteran who had been a paraplegic for 33 years. 33 years ago was the last time that he stood. And he grew up in the country, works on a farm, does a little bit of everything, hunts and fish. But he never played. He has friends that play golf, but he's never played golf. So we brought him and the therapist out. The therapist had a chance to sit and experience what it was like to play in a paramobile, to learn how to teach from a paramobile. And then we brought in some veterans to come for them to teach. So this gentleman came, and we put him in the paramobile, and a lot of the things we discussed at the summit were physical. This gentleman hadn't stood in 33 years, so your blood pressure changes in elevation. And this is, probably something Anthony mentioned too, that, we have to make sure that, their health is number one. We don't want to break any bones. We want to keep their health stay number one. But during the course of those 2 days, he was able to stand for the first time in 33 years. Not only that, did he hit a golf ball fairly well. And he fell in love.
Wow.
So one of the interesting things that came about that was he's in blue jeans and a T-shirt, and the course director said, hey, if you'd like to take them out on a hole. So we went out hole 1, and hole 2 came back to the clubhouse. So we took them out, and the following morning at breakfast, 2 of the golfers who play regularly, one was a PGA member, and he said, did you see the guy in jeans with long hair and a T-shirt playing on our course? And first thing that ran through my mind, here's a veteran who served his country in Vietnam. And the second of all is I said, let me share this experience with you of what this gentleman learned. He fell in love with the sport that he loved, but not only that, he was able to stand for the first time in 33 years, which made tears come out of his eyes.
Mm-hmm.
When you watch an individual's life change by giving them a tool, whether it's golf, a paramobile, just some education, to see that there's hope, even just playing with somebody to realize that, hey, this guy can hit the ball. And nobody ever thought a person could hit a ball from a wheelchair or from a paramobile. And maybe even play better than them. But those are some of those challenges,
Right. Yeah, I know Anthony mentioned, and I don't recall if it was the gentleman's name or who he was referring to at the time, but he mentioned another individual that had not played golf for a number of years, but he mentioned as well that some of these men that have gotten out there have just, crushed their drives. They just hit it phenomenal distance, but have no use of their better part of their lower body. And it just baffles the mind because, and Mary Beth and Darren and David, I'm sure you can attest, there's our everyday golfers out there. They're lucky if they can hit it 200 yards down the fairway that have full capacity of every, muscle and whatnot of their body. And yet here are some of these men and women who have, many challenges that are met with are out there striping it down the middle. So there's really no excuse.
Yeah, Ted.
Go ahead.
I can definitely shed some light on this. As I was, and I shouldn't say lucky. I put myself in a situation where I surrounded myself with the best people and was was working for Jack Nicklaus for several years, and Mr. Nicklaus was taught by Jim Flick later in his career, and Mr. Flick would often hit golf balls from a chair during the clinics, and it would just emphasize the use of the arms and hands and how important their role is in a golf swing. And that's why people are so successful hitting a golf ball from the Paramobile. That the arms and hands are a huge part of swinging a golf club and a power source that, you know, most people are thinking about what their body's doing as opposed to what the golf club's doing and what their arms and hands are doing. So I saw it, you know, firsthand, and come to see 10, 12 years later how important that education was with Jack and Jim in what I'd be doing. It's kind of a little ironic. It's a little scary, but it could also be, you know, there's a bigger picture for all of us, and you never know what's down the road in your future.
Yeah,
I find it kind of ironic. You're talking about arms and hands, and I don't have one. But I get out there, and I don't hit it far, but I hit it straight.
You know, and I've witnessed Yana playing golf, and you'd be amazed she can beat, you know, so many of the women that play golf all the time and have every ability. So there you go.
Right. Well, I think what resonates to me, guys, is this. I think the only excuse that an individual can have to not play is really their own fear of not whether it be failure, of not being able to to get out there. We all sort of have our own fears, and I think a lot of people, Johnny, you know, when you talked about this young girl that probably just didn't think that she could ever play, but yet you, through your story, you were able to inspire her. And I just think what it really boils down to, guys, is this: it's educating the public. Right. I remember years ago, if you think back several decades ago, we didn't have Special Olympics. We had our traditional Olympics, and it was really through perseverance and dedication by many, many individuals, both with challenges and without, that we now have Special Olympics. And I think that a lot of society forgets that just because, whether it be a veteran that's come home from service that maybe has PTSD or has a physical challenge, that suddenly their life is over. And that couldn't be further from the truth. And I think what you guys are proposing with your summit and reaching out is to say, you're right, it isn't over, and here's some things that we believe you can do to get back out there and not only get back into the game of life, but do it in such a way that you can have fun as you're growing and continuing to overcome some of the challenges that life has faced you with, whether it was through a military challenge that you were faced with, or whether, John, in your case, where you were born that way. So I think it's really overcoming those fears. So what do we need to do, number one, as a society, but more importantly, within the golf industry, that we're not doing now? John, I'm going to start with you, and then
sure.
My fellow professionals, if they want to jump in. What do we need to do from here on in to help get this word out?
Well, I think the very first thing, and I'm sure David and Mary Beth and Darren will all attest, and Roger will as well, will all attest to this, is just grassroots changing the mindset. If we can get people to be able to help empower people like myself who don't know that we can get out there and play golf. Mary Beth mentioned the junior golf leagues and the PGA. It's all about inclusion, but there's a gap that says, okay, well, hey, parents, you have a child that has a disability or challenge or different ability, like I like to call it.
Sure.
But the parents may not even know that there's programs out there to put the kids in, and this kind of a program, whether it's golf or tennis or skiing or whatever it is, it helps build dignity, it helps build self-confidence, and not only does it help the child that has the challenge, the kids that are on the same team trying to help it, because it's a team effort, they're going to benefit in the future of the way they perceive people with different abilities. We're not unable to do anything unless we, in our mind, let other people or our own voice, inner voice, tell us that we can't. Because you can. You just find a different way. It may look different. It may look funny.
It's so true, Gianna. It's all behavior related, and
yes.
At the end of the day, your behavior is a controlled thing, and we control our behaviors. You know, I can't control your behavior. I can only control my own, and it's so true. And with controlled behavior becomes habit, and that's where people kind of fall into that category where things don't change. You know, habits are things that have been going on for years and years and years. They don't come overnight, and it's tough to change those.
Well, here's a perfect example. I was born this way, so I don't know any different. That left hand with no fingers is my hand.
Right.
If I'm someone who has lost it during my life, if you give me your left hand, I will have the same challenge for you losing it than I would getting one.
Right.
It's just the way that I'm wired. It's the way that I'm wired when I'm born. Same way when people have amputee situations, for whatever reasons, they have what they call phantom pains. They think they still have a hand. My hand still hurts because you don't have a hand. It's the way you're wired when you're born, and number one. And number two, it's the way that you, in your mind, accept whatever is going on. So if you can overcome yourself and say, okay, well, all right, I don't have a hand. I trust me, as an 8-year-old little girl sitting on Arnold Palmer's lap, I would have never thought I was going to be playing golf, much less now inspiring other people that have challenges to get out and play golf. But it's all up into your mind. And like Darren said, it's behavioral. If you're trained to think that, oh, well, I can't do that, or people are telling you you can't do that, it's up to you how you're going to receive that. Personally, I take it as a challenge.
Yeah, well, and I think that's
the biggest thing with and that's what I see with champion golfers or people who really succeed in life to people who almost succeed. You know, that they accept the challenge, right? They want the challenge. They want the ball in the last 30 seconds. So kudos to you, Gio.
Yeah, well said. And you're right. And I think there's a certain ignorance that and again, I don't mean that in a derogatory way, but I just think a naivete maybe that some people have is things that they don't understand. You know, from somebody who maybe isn't faced with a challenge, they don't understand those challenges that you, Gianna, or Roger, and many of the others out there that are facing with. And Roger, I want to ask you one other question here that, again, because you work with a lot of veterans, you're not only just seeing the physical challenges that some of these veterans and military personnel that have come back from various deployments, but many of them come back as well with PTSD, which is a whole different sort of kettle of fish, if you will. And I know just through talking with Gianna and others that part of therapy has also seen a bit of an uptick with golf, correct?
Absolutely. You know, it is hard to get back into being around large groups, large sounds, you know, opening up to another person. And, you know, still, I mean, brain injuries are everybody it injures somebody in different ways, but it also affects your social interaction skills too. You're still a soldier, and you're 24/7 ready, but your your life is interrupted by the injury. So you have balance issues. You have social interaction issues where you may, because of the injury, be a little more aggressive in your conversations. But also, just one of the things is you try to you spend more time alone. So they try to get individuals with PTSD. Golf is a focused sport. You have to focus on everything you do, but it's also a quiet sport. It's one that when you go out, you and that ball are one. As you connect with it and you focus on it, you work on getting that ball down the fairway. But it is also one that you partner other veterans together where they start opening up and they start realizing their social skills once again. And also getting over their physical limitations, helping them open up some of the wounds that maybe they haven't opened up before. And
Roger, I have a question for you.
Sure.
I have a student with post-traumatic stress, and one of the things that happens is that once we start to hit some golf balls, and we get into a groove, or he gets into a groove of maybe 5 or 6 good ones, he starts to wander with his brain because he's so used to looking over his shoulder. He's so used to having to think about some other things, and he loses focus on the task at hand. Is that something that kind of goes through your brain as well when you're hitting balls on the range?
Absolutely. I mean, your brain is constantly, like I said, 24/7 ready. That no matter what the circumstances, you're always looking at things around you. You're observant to everything around. When we were in our summit, one of the instructors brought what they call PTSD glasses, and it had a little window in the sunglasses. That when we put it on a veteran who had PTSD, they were actually designed to read the greens. But when they put it on with the gentleman with PTSD, you could only see what was in that little window on the lens.
So quieted him down, yeah.
There were conversations going on all around him, in front of him, beside him, behind him. And so I asked him to focus on me in front of him, and we started having a conversation. And I said, can you tell me what the conversation, or how many people are to your behind you? And they weren't far behind, but they were having a conversation. Because he couldn't see it, and he was focused on me, he was oblivious to the conversation behind him because of that narrowing of vision. And so it was we found out that was a very helpful tool, and they've done some research with that. But that is one that, it's also just changing up your routine, knowing that that's going to happen, change up your routine, maybe change a club or change to something different as a challenge that'll help keep him focused. He won't know that, but you will.
Yeah, Roger, that was exactly what I was going to say is, traditionally when somebody's out on the practice tee, not necessarily through a lesson, but just to themselves, and I'm sure my fellow professionals can attest to this, we often see sort of the raking of the golf ball and hitting one after another, and it's almost, a continual repetition. Not necessarily the best way to practice, by the way, but many golfers do that. And I think obviously, and Roger, correct me if I'm not down the right track here, but I can see an opportunity for somebody that does have that challenge of PTS to not have that continual flow of practice, maybe have it interrupted and do it in stages. In other words, maybe hit 2 or 3 golf balls and then have that attention misdirected somewhere else, maybe in a conversation, and then go back with a new club or something else. But that sort of taking away from that routine, would that also, do you think, be effective?
Absolutely. I mean, changing the routine, keeping the focus. He's there to have fun and relax. So, give them that opportunity. So it may be we're going to putt for a few minutes, and we're going to go chip for a few minutes, and we're going to go drive for a few minutes before we go out and, play 9 holes. But give them some challenges that are worth, even changing direction on flags. So if you're on the driving range, we're going to change from driving to chipping, but we're going to make a game out of this to let them change their focus and direction. Ted, I wanted to also just go back to your previous question about changing, what do we see things changing in the industry? And one, you brought up Special Olympics. A lot of the disability groups, veterans and non-veterans, and kudos to everybody who's been out there, Special Olympics and, SMGA and other organizations have been teaching adaptive golf for a number of years. We've just never collaboratively come together as we did with the summit to put all those teaching tools together to be able to come up with a unified means of education. So learning from each different disability group on how they teach and putting that all into one as far as an educational tool. Also bringing, groups together. We have veterans who have golf tournaments. We have non-veteran groups doing golf tournaments. But inclusiveness of the adaptive golfers in these programs so that they're out playing together. They're getting to know one another in the community, in the adaptive golf world, the instructors and non-instructors, as well as players. And that builds the strength as far as cohesiveness in the growth of adaptive golf and education and getting over attitudinal barriers because they see more people out playing and playing with able-bodied. In bowling, we call it an up-and-down league where the people with disabilities and people without disabilities playing, and we do the same thing with a foursome and a scramble. You have a veteran or non-veteran, somebody with a disability, somebody without, playing in the foursome. And everybody's learning off of each other how they play. And just the social interaction to get to know an adaptive golfer is just an amazing experience for somebody who's never played with one.
Right. And I like the fact that, as you mentioned earlier, some of the individuals that you've worked with and Darren and David and of course Mary Beth, I'm sure you've all experienced with golfers who have had some various challenges, just the change in their demeanor, the expression even on their face when they're able to do something that maybe they haven't been able to do for many, many years or haven't been really even pushed to do because of some of the challenges that they're faced with. I think one thing that I think would really help, and bear with me here, guys, for a second before you chime in. Society has always, again, been kind of slow to make change. And one thing that I think I would really like to see happen is in the public forum, in commercials and things of that nature. For instance, I'll give you an example. Culturally, if you look at most television commercials now, there has been a movement now for several decades where you're seeing literally a melting pot of different cultures in commercials. So it's becoming more mainstream. The one thing that you do not see, or at least I certainly have not seen, is the only representation that you see, whether it be for juniors or even adults, in the disability category, is in the form of a commercial for some sort of assistance or help. For instance, Shriners and some of these other organizations that are looking. But you don't see commercials of individuals who have these challenges being in active everyday life situations. So I think what happens, and John, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, or Roger, is society, when they see that, they don't see these individuals, that the brain just doesn't sort of register, if you will. You don't see these individuals in everyday situations like everybody else. You're only seeing them in a forum where they're looking for assistance or donations or what have you for certainly worthwhile causes. So I wonder that if maybe the golf industry and other industries as well was to tackle that issue and say, let's start showcasing some of the veterans out there playing golf and doing some of the different activities, I think people would start to see not just those that don't have challenges, but those that do have challenges say, hey, I can do that. If that gentleman can do that in a paramobile, why can't I do? Would you agree with that?
Well, I am raising my hand over here. Go ahead, Roger, you first, and then I'm going to chime in.
Actually, in the last 5 years, probably a little more than that, we've seen an increase in commercials. Toyota put out a commercial, I believe it was last year, with a person in a wheelchair playing basketball.
Right.
We've had, murder ball, which is quad rugby.
Right.
And some of our U.S., our Paralympian athletes are starting to become more and more involved in commercials these days. But like you said,
right.
I mean, outside of the Paralympic athletes, I mean, we're starting to see a little bit more in television and commercials with persons with disabilities. A lot of the time it's just persons in chairs. But yes, I would say yes and no. Yes, it can always be an increase of various disabilities in these commercials for sure, without being a plea for money. Because these are everyday people, and they have good causes, don't get me wrong. But
right.
in an everyday commercial, that would be an advantageous tool to bring the attitudes into check and education into check.
It's changing a mindset is what it is.
Well, that's exactly, I guess, was the point that I was going for, and I think that society, when it sort of falls into the mainstream way of thinking, are more receptive to follow with that changes. Anytime that there's a major social change or policy change, it'll start slowly, but then you'll start to see it sort of interweave in societal issues. And I think this is something that really, and Roger, as you mentioned, I do recall that commercial that Toyota did put out, and there are certain signs of it, but I think it's something that, the golf industry as well, it could be more engaging in. And I think that, with some of the challenges that individuals face with, there's a huge opportunity, not just with the Paramobile, but with other apparatus, maybe golf clubs, modifications to golf clubs that could be made to adapt to that particular category, which would, again, open doors. And I think that you're certainly going to see it happen, but like I said in the opening remarks, it's a very slow process. So this is something I think that obviously is going to happen over time, but it's going to take groups like yourselves to be active and engaging out in the various communities. So going back to the question I asked a few moments ago is, Gianna and obviously the others are welcome to add in as well. What's the next step? What's the current state of your adaptive golf mission, and what's next for the summit?
Well, one of the things that I see, again, we're going to go back to what Roger was just talking about, and the question that you asked is awareness. We have a lot of grassroots foundation to build first. Talking about not seeing people with different abilities out there doing all of these wonderful things that everybody else is doing.
Right.
It's still slow to come, like you said. It's still slow to come, but it's coming. I think I recall a weightlifting Doritos commercial, and all you saw was this little girl watching, and they didn't. I think it might, correct me if I'm wrong, it might have been one of the Super Bowl commercials last year that didn't air, but it aired this year. Mm-hmm. And there's this little girl watching these guys with no arms, no legs. They're in the gym, they're working out, and you don't realize it until they cut back to her that she is in the same boat.
Right.
Same thing with Mary Beth and I. We had an opportunity to be on a call with the PGA Junior Golf League. They tout that they're all about inclusion, but the inclusion is gender and racial, not necessarily ability. And that's where I think I even mentioned I had an opportunity at the PGA Merchandise Show to talk to some people about junior golf on stage and said, hey, well, you guys are talking about inclusion and diversity, but what do you your commercial, your PSA, your 30-second spot is just showing kids out there playing, not necessarily whether it's a gender or a racial thing, but you're not showing the kid that's in the wheelchair to do this. So that's where I feel that one of those. Start when they're young. We're going to help them build confidence, because I already know. I wish I had known this when I was younger.
Sure.
But here I am, 54 years old with grandchildren and children, and I was always the scapegoat. I was always the pick on. No kid should feel like they're different, no matter what their challenges are. So if we can help bring that into light, that will help change the mindset for the future. So those kids that are on the team with that kid that has a challenge are now going to have a different perception of the rest of their life and their future and how they perceive people with different abilities. So we got to start at the grassroots. We got to start. I hate to say it, but I think that's not a golf thing. That's just a plain old society thing. Because in my generation, I got picked on. They're not picking on the kid in the wheelchair now, although they may be in a different way, but not the way that I went through.
Right.
So if we can change that, then we can help shape the future for this.
Yeah, I think one of the things, and I've sort of been a big proponent of this, one of the things that you don't see, with few exceptions, which I'll point out in a minute, one of the things that you don't see is really golf, and I think I'm not sure if it was David or Darren that mentioned this earlier about golf being, an elitist sport, but you see virtually every other sport in the school system as an after-school program or what have you, whether it be basketball, football, baseball, all kinds of, and depending on geographically where you are, skiing, exactly. But you don't see golf, with the exception of, some high school and certainly collegiate level. You don't see golf really being exposed or very limited exposure in the school system, and that's really where it needs to begin to get people interested. And I think that would be an opportunity in itself to address not just the general population, but particularly those that maybe have some special needs and various challenges, to see that golf can be for them as well. They don't necessarily have to play on the PGA Tour or LPGA Tour if they don't wish.
Just be to the best of your potential.
But that it's available to them. And like you said, until much later in life and through their own initiative or somebody else's egging on, they're not even aware that they can be exposed to it. So I think that would be another target that I would personally like to see happen, is golf being more engaging into the school systems in some fashion. And I know there are some programs out there across the nation, Mary Beth. And
Ted, one of the programs I'm doing right now, excuse me, is called Golf Squad. Just being down here in Myrtle Beach, I'm trying to get my name out there, and I'm trying to be as interactive as possible. And one of the things I'm doing is Golf Squad, and they are in all of the schools down here, whether it's the elementary school or the middle school. And I actually just started last week, and it's definitely gets a lot of kids, at least in the Myrtle Beach area. Now, when I was living up in New York, I'd never heard of Golf Squad, didn't know what it was. Maybe it's just down this area, but that's one of the things I'm doing. And I do think that we are starting to get into the school systems. I don't know the statistics.
Right.
I listened to Michael Breed on the radio about a month ago, and there was a woman from the New York Times that posted an article about how golf is really diminishing, and Michael was talking about some statistics about how we are not diminishing and how we're getting them into schools and how we're doing in these other programs. So maybe David has some more information on that, but it's one of the things that I'm involved with. So I am seeing, at least down here in the Myrtle Beach area.
Yeah, I would say here too in New Jersey. In Jersey, I'm in most of the elementary schools in the county. The New Jersey PGA and the National PGA has a program, Golf in Schools, where they supply the equipment and the curriculum, and the pro just goes in and actually works with the PE teachers and spends educates them a little bit and leaves the equipment, does a class or two with them, but then leaves the equipment with them for 2 weeks and they use it for all their students, and and then you pick it back up again. And I've done that now for a lot of years. But the PGA is promoting that and willing to supply all the equipment, and it is a good inclusion then, because you get all the kids. Even if there's a disability involved, doesn't matter, they're all there. So it is a good inclusion program.
Yeah, and there are certain...
Mary
Go ahead,
Beth,
David.
if you don't, I know Mary Beth. She was in one of the best PGA sections up at the New Jersey, and they have a very strong foundation, and they're very active. And they define promote or produce. And yes, the PGA of America, they're going to promote it, and they're going to put it out there. But it's out there. It's kind of like it's like fishing. They're going to put it out there, and it's the active, it's the productive golf professionals or sections that can motivate their local team to produce results and get into the school. So there is a difference there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that. Yeah, I know in Manhattan. I know of a woman, Kate Tempesta. She's been on my show before. Does some work in the schools, and I know that others throughout certain parts of the United States. I know that. I think what it is, it's like Gianna, what you talked about earlier. There's a lot of organizations out there that address some of the issues and concerns that we've talked about here tonight so far, but they're sort of all working independently for their own initiatives. And I think it's kind of like, having a bus with many wheels, but the wheels are all moving in a different direction. And I think that they all need to be sort of coordinated and made to move in the same direction. They're certainly not to take away from their own initiatives, but I think there has to be a greater goal, if you will, and sort of includes all of these organizations. And I think that's really what you're trying to do with putting together this golf summit. Is that an accurate statement, you think?
Absolutely. That is very accurate, because some of the initiatives are so amazing, necessary. But like I said, when I was trying to learn to play, no one was talking to me because I don't fit into any category of any of the initiatives. So there are wonderful opportunities and organizations out there for one-arm golfers, for blind golfers, for amputee golfers. I was born this way. I have an arm. But there wasn't anybody out there for me. So for me, my initiative really, I don't have one particular initiative. I'm not training. I'm not selling equipment. I'm not, my thing is that I'm trying to be the resource for that golfer. It's just, wow, I don't even know where to start. How do I find somebody to teach me? How do I find somebody to fit into an organization or a social group that I'm like-mindseted? And not to take anything away from the amazing initiatives, they're also sometimes very exclusive. So if you're not one-armed golfer, I have an arm, I don't fit into that category, so I'm excluded. Or I'm not a veteran, so I'm associated with the organizations, but I don't fit into that category, so I'm excluded. So my thing with the adaptive golfers is, because I'm coming from the golfer's perspective, and I want all of these amazing organizations, I want to be able to help represent what they're doing on behalf of the golfer to find them. And that's where I think maybe what I'm doing is a little bit different, and it's also very daunting.
Yeah, it is. It's certainly, and I can see how that can be a daunting task, because again, each of these organizations that you've mentioned here, not just tonight, but in other conversations that you and I have had, all serve a great purpose and have certainly a worthwhile agenda. But again, not everybody falls into all of those categories. Not everybody's a veteran. Not everybody was born this way. Not everybody is paralyzed and what have you. So there's a lot of different categories, and I think it seems to me that initially, I think one great thing is to be able to have a resource where people can go that fall into whatever category, and say, hey, I'd like to play golf. I'm interested in golf, but I don't know how to go about it. Because not everybody, David is and Darren and Mary Beth, is teaching to that particular demographic right now. It's very difficult for individuals to know where to go to find the help that they need. So what can we do within the industry, individually and as a group, to make that more accessible? Is the PGA and maybe LPGA receptive to putting something together so that if an individual comes up or calls or goes to the website, is there a way that we can initiate a program, if you will, through your summit that somebody that falls into one of these various categories can reach out and say, okay, I'd like to play golf, or I'd like to meet somebody that can help me learn how to play golf that can address my special needs. Is there a way, or is there a program that we can initiate to do that? And I'm going to leave that open to anybody.
I think that's in the works. We've got the ears. We have the ears. There's a lot of information that is being shared, and I don't think we're there yet, but that is definitely one of the sites in the near future to have, like, for instance, if somebody wants to find an instructor in their local area that's a PGA certified instructor, they type in their zip code, blah, blah, blah. They find a local place. But maybe there's an intake where they have to say, okay, well, I have this challenge, I have this challenge. Maybe it's a little self-assessment that has to do before they match somebody that can help them. And if we don't have people to send the golfers to, which is what David and the whole summit thing is about, is training the trainers. So we have people out there that can train people that have challenges, how to get out on the golf course. And even if it's just to the driving range, but just there has to be the grassroots part of it first. So it's a little bit of a, like I said, it's a little daunting. This isn't going to happen overnight, but this is a start.
Right.
David, let me ask.
David can chime in too.
There are some platforms there for someone to do that and go by state or go by zip code and things. And we link through it through our Adaptive Golf Association page, which is just adaptivegolf.org. There's a place to find coaches. And then we also have another level. There's trained coaches and that have been exposed to the program, and then there's certified coaches that have gone the extra mile and have really put some extensive time and resources to teaching adaptive golf. But if you go right to National Alliance of Accessible Golf, there's a resource page there. If you go to Freedom Golf, I believe that's FGA.org, they have experienced a growth spurt in northern Illinois, all around Chicago, with our good friend EQ Sylvester, which can be a model there. And then also our United States Adaptive Golf Alliance. So just in the search bar of adaptive golf, find a coach, something like that through Google, a few of these sites are going to pop up, and with a little navigation, someone should be able to find something close to them.
And with a little more time, there'll be more and more resources available to them.
And with just having an opportunity to be in 42 out of our 50 states to implement a program with different entities, between myself and Gianna and Roger, I think we, through the PVA network, we ought to be able to help somebody out. So like Gianna says, we're all ears, and we're always looking to look for more solutions to be better.
Hey, Ted, there was one thought that Matthew there are some of us with disabilities who play golf who would actually like to go down the PGA route to become certified coaches and instructors. And that was one of the reasons that the summit was important to me, because there are people who play who would like to become certified coaches and instructors to be able to teach. And there is not a direct means through PGA or LPGA, USGA to get there to do just that in their curriculum. So that's another tool that needs to be developed over time. And you know, those are great resources that Dave mentioned.
If I can just add one more thing to that, Roger.
Yeah, no, you're exactly
As I
right.
mentioned, go ahead. As I mentioned earlier, I didn't have anybody. I couldn't find anybody to teach me how to play golf one-handed.
Right.
I could only go to the local instructor that has two hands and has been teaching people and hasn't really had the exposure or the training to teach somebody like myself. And we just had to learn the way they were teaching, and then I had to adapt it. So, like Roger said, you know, having someone who's in a wheelchair looking for how to play golf to be able to be taught by somebody who's in a wheelchair, it gives I don't want to take anything away from anybody else, but it gives an awful lot more validity to it than, you know, trying to find someone. Same thing with myself. If I found a one-handed teacher, I would have been all over it because they already have been through it. And not, again, I don't mean
so true,
any
Gianna.
disrespect, but
no, so true. It's like, and here's the way I
don't
look
mean
at
disrespect to you guys with two
no,
hands.
No, not at all. Here's the way I look at it. It's putting yourself in the arena, right? Think of a PGA Tour player, right? They have been put into the arena. They know what it's like. I will never understand what it's like for Roger. I will never understand what it's like for you. You will never understand what it's like for me. So being put in the arena, so to say, is a completely different ballgame. And only people who have been put in the arena, so to say, can understand that. And it makes so much sense.
That's why David's program is so awesome. David's program is awesome because he brings a prosthetic leg. You will be on one leg, hitting from a prosthetic leg with a patch over your eye or blindfold on, or because he gives you that opportunity to feel what it feels like. He puts you in the arena.
Right.
And that's one of the programs that again, that's what this whole summit is about, is trying to get that experience transferred down so that those trainers, those teachers, the PGA teaching professionals, the rehabilitative specialists, they can kind of, in their best way, relate to what that person that they're teaching is going through and have some kind of feeling. I do that with when I go out and speak at golf expos, I make it interactive. I say, okay, well, who are the golfers in the room? And you know they're the first people to put their hands up. All right, come here a minute.
Sure.
I'm going to put a patch on you. I'm going to give you a club, and I'm going to make you stand on one leg, maybe kneel on a chair and swing one-armed, and tell me how that feels. Tell the group, the people that I'm presenting to, tell them how that feels different than what you do on a normal day to go out and play golf. So unless you're there, it's very difficult.
So, Ted, you know, you also being a Navy veteran, thank you, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
You've all, you know, I'm sure we've all at some point interacted with a Vietnam veteran and dating back.
Yep.
I mean, they didn't have anything when they got back. It's that passion that Gianna carries. There wasn't anything for her to break through and create an identity for herself, you know, separate that she really loved. And now she's found this. And I so wish, too, you knew who Arnold Palmer was when you were that little girl sitting on his lap. But just
I have pictures. Who would have known?
Yeah, I mean, so that's what we need more of. You know, just in this last year, meeting Gianna and seeing that she is going all out and she is putting herself out there, I mean, that's what it takes. It takes that self-exploitation. You got to get she is changing lives just by a picture, a video, and people are asking questions and they're saying, hey, my niece, my nephew, here and there, and those are the one by one. We're trying.
David, tell her about Miss Linda.
There you go. And yeah, I mean, you have examples across the board where Linda was not sure. She was, very hesitant to try golf again after some major shoulder injuries, and she linked up at the forum at the summit down in December, and she got talking with Gianna and then Mary Beth, and it was just about building rapport and saying, hey, let's start from here. Let's go with what's comfortable. Next thing you know, we really found where she could take that club back to a nice, comfortable backswing and really hold that angle and use a few tools, because we're all about making it a successful experience. And with a swing board and the glove with a loop and a really light shaft with nice forgiving loft, and she was putting that ball right out there with the best of them. And wow, I mean, that
and
was.
She's going to go back out and play golf
right
with her husband again. Mhm.
Yeah,
Right
and that's a great example as well. Somebody that maybe once played and for whatever reason isn't playing, or hasn't been playing for a while, has that chance to sort of rekindle that passion. And again, it's to put them, as was said, to put them in the arena, to give them that opportunity, and that's really what it's going to take. Guys, unfortunately, I've got to wrap it up, so I want to give each of you an opportunity. Gianna, as I mentioned to you before, I'm going to have you go last, but
okay.
I'll go down through the list. David, let the folks that are tuning in, let them know how they can reach out to you and what you've got in the mix in the next little while that you'd like to share with my audience, and how they can get you. And then Roger and Mary Beth and Darren, I'll get to you as well. So go ahead, David. The floor is yours.
Yeah, hey, thank you. Well, first, thank you, Ted. And, I didn't see anywhere in your bio, since you're from Hamilton, Ontario, I didn't see any hockey career highlights.
Oh, yeah.
But I used to attend the summer hockey camps at Ridley College, right down the road from Hamilton.
Oh, wow.
Up. But that's another conversation. But what has been going on is really the surge of everybody is doing something, and the PGA has that initiative for our military. That is one really key initiative, because it's needed. It's on our forefront, and how those are implemented through VA hospitals with clinics, whether it be the physical component or our invisible wounds, it's making an impact. It's starting to the inroads for family, and also what's taking place in communities. So where we've implemented veterans programs, there's certainly that opportunity to meld into the community portion. And so more things are happening there, partnering with local service organizations and people just taking off the horse blinders and opening it up to more and more folks, because that's what the VA wants. They don't want the veteran to come and just hang out with the brothers and sisters in uniform. They want them to be interacting in the fabric of the community and making it happen. And just that quick reference earlier with our Vietnam veterans not having anything back in the day, well, sure enough, man, they're finding more ways of more better purpose in their lives. They're giving back to this next generation, and I have so many now that want to give back to our civilians. They are offering to help with golf in schools programs and other outreach things for, just through the value of the game. So that can be happening anywhere, any place, at any time. I currently reside up in Atlanta, and I can be reached there, and I have a web page, adaptivegolf.org, or the Adaptive Golf Academy, and someone can track me down right there. My cell phone is on there, so if we can help just implement something and provide a resource, if it's up in Mary Beth's neck of the woods, then we're going to refer it. If it's over towards Myrtle Beach, I'm going to say, hey, Darren, get with these guys. And if it's down towards Orlando, which we have a lot of momentum there right now, going through North Florida, well, we have Roger for that. So I just hope to pass it along.
Perfect. And speaking of Roger, you're welcome. And Roger, again, thank you for your service. How can the folks, if they want to, especially some of our veterans out there that maybe would like to get into some golf, and how can they reach out to you for some additional help?
Well, they can reach me at the Central Florida Paralyzed Veterans of America, so pvacf.org. That's P as in Paul, V as in Victor, A as in Adam, Charlie, C as in Charlie, F as in Frank.org. And it's Roger S.
Perfect.
PVATF. One of the things, we're working with veterans organizations here in Central Florida, partnering with Stand Up and Play Foundation and some of these organizations, the Fairways for Warriors, and we have the local VA hospitals, and partnering with other PGA professionals and schools in the area. And I do want to give some kudos here to the Golf Academy of America that just had a gentleman who graduated from their academy in December, who was one of their first wheelchair graduates, and who's working with juniors and the first years and adaptive golfers. So I just definitely have to throw some kudos over there for that, because that's important. It's an important step for adaptive golf. So we're here in Central Florida. You can also check out the Stand Up and Play Foundation page and for resources of instructors in your area, as well as adaptive golfers.
Perfect. Thank you, Roger, for again for your service, and thank you for joining me this evening. Mary Beth, how can the folks? You're welcome. How can the folks reach out to you?
Sure. I'm at the Crystal Springs Resort up in at part of the Ledbetter Golf Academy in Franklin, New Jersey. I'm going to be, and they can go to my website, which is tothetgolf.com, or that's the best way to find out the information. You'll get everything you need on there, and if they want any kind of help, I can help them, both private or groups. I can put them in.
Fantastic, and thank you, Mary Beth, as well for joining me tonight.
You're welcome.
Darren, how can the folks reach out for you? And
Double D Golf Academy, located in Little River, which is right in the Myrtle Beach area. I've got the Paramobile available for anybody who needs to use it. In addition, I'm actively involved with many adaptive programs every day. So you can also view my website, DeMailey Golf, or Facebook or Twitter, DeMailey Golf as well.
Perfect. Thank you. And last but not least, Gianna?
Well, first of all, Ted, thank you very much. I appreciate to have this second opportunity to talk with you and your listeners. I can be reached at adaptivegolfers.org, and that's golfers. I can also be reached at Gianna at adaptivegolfers.org if you want to directly email me. I also am going to do a little bit of a little fundraising plug at the moment, if you don't mind. If you are a Amazon shopper, if you go to smile.amazon.com, choose Adaptive Golfers as your supporting charity. You just bookmark it, then you share it. But for the future, any purchases that go through Amazon.com will benefit the adaptive golfers. Amazon will donate a 0.5% of the purchase. So it's no extra cost to anyone. You don't have to do anything different except just go through smile.amazon.com. And that would definitely be a help to get things started.
Perfect.
Or,
well,
for any anonymous donations, for 10,000 or more are certainly welcome.
That too.
Yep.
Could definitely use some seed funding.
I agree. Well, guys, I want to take this opportunity to thank all of you again, Gianna, David, Roger, Mary Beth, and Darren. And unfortunately, Chris Aranda was also supposed to join us. He is a specialist with the Veterans Outreach Program, and we'll get him on the next time. But I want to take this opportunity to thank you, all of you, for spending some time with me tonight on Golf Talk Live. It's been a very interesting and stimulating conversation, and I always like to feel that I learned something, and I believe I've learned a few things from all of you guys. And on a side note, obviously we had a specific agenda here tonight that we wanted to talk about, but I want to extend an invitation to all of you to come back again But also to Darren, Mary Beth, and David, I believe if you don't have Jonathan, my email address, I would like to have you guys definitely as my special guest to talk a little bit more about golf in general, about each of your facilities and your teaching and so forth. So I like to obviously showcase my fellow golf professionals on the show as well. So in addition to tonight, you guys are welcome to come back, and Roger as well. I would like to have you come back on a separate. Maybe we can talk a little bit more about the veterans and that. And we'll try to get Chris on here on a future show as well. And John, I think it would be interesting maybe later on in the year, maybe group back again, maybe for an update and talk about some things as more development happens. Maybe we can have some additional conversation a little bit later in the year. How about that?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I know that we've also talked a little bit about talking about actual products and equipment that can help out too. So keep listening for that. To be continued.
Sounds good. Well, again, Jonna, David, Roger, Mary Beth, and Darren, thank you very much again for joining me tonight in Golf Talk. I truly have enjoyed it, and I know the listeners will enjoy it as well. And much continued success for all of you, and keep up the hard work. And please feel free to reach out to me anytime if there's anything that I can do to help. I think it's a great thing that you're all doing, and I think that the more that we can all work together and strive to, open doors for those that maybe don't realize those doors are there. And I think that's how you grow the game, by opening those doors for those that maybe haven't had the opportunity, or maybe did at one time and maybe need to have that door opened again. So let's continue to work together. And as I said, Jonna, I'll have you guys back again maybe a little bit later on in the season as more developments come through, but and get an update, okay?
Thank you so much. Thank you very much for the opportunity too. And it's like I said, it's a collaborative effort, and the more opportunities we have to talk about this, the more awareness will be there, and the more motion will happen.
Perfect. Okay, guys. Again, thank you very much for joining me tonight on Golf Talk Live. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to the next time. Have a great evening, everybody.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Good night.
Bye.
All right, good night. Okay, that was my very special guests from the Adaptive Golfer Summit Group, Jonna Rojas, David Windsor, and Roger Sack, Mary Beth Koberger, and Darren Damali. Great individuals, certainly for putting a lot of great efforts into helping some of those that face both emotional and physical challenges out there, introducing to this great game, and as it was mentioned earlier, using it in some cases as a rehabilitation tool for those that maybe have had some difficult challenges along the way. I want to take this opportunity to also thank all of the listeners for faithfully tuning in each and every week. I try to keep things interesting, and by bringing some interesting guests on the show that have something a little bit different. It's not all about how to fix the slice and how to hit better golf shots, although that's a certainly primary function here on the show as well. But I think topics like we discussed tonight, the Adaptive Golfers Summit, I think it's important that we share this information with as many people as we can. There are literally and we didn't get into all the facts and the figures and the numbers tonight, unfortunately, but there are literally millions of individuals, even just here in the United States, that fall into these various categories that we're talking about tonight, whether it be some wounded veterans or in Jonna's case that were born with some disadvantages or challenges. And, they want to be active in the communities as well. And particularly many of them would probably love to play golf. And it's our responsibility as golf professionals and human beings to make that available for them as well. So, again, thanks to all the listeners worldwide for faithfully tuning into Golf Talk Live each week. And I do truly have a great amount of pleasure and enjoyment of having a number of highly talented coaches, teaching professionals, authors, entrepreneurs, and just great people like tonight's guests stop by, and it's really through their participation and guest appearances that have helped make Golf Talk Live a first-class show. Special thank you to some of the sponsors and supporters of the show, Mr. Jonathan Laird from South Coast Golf Guide. Go to southcoastgolfguide.com, and you can check out some of the great courses that are here in the southeastern part of the United States. If you're interested, you can go to southcoastgolfguide.com, and you can actually request a copy if you're not down here in the south at the moment, but maybe you're planning on making a trip here, whether it be Florida, Georgia, Florida or Alabama, Louisiana, Mississippi, and even right over to Texas. If you're coming into some of these southern states and you're looking to play some great golf, you can actually request a copy of the guide be sent to you. Otherwise, you can just come down, and most of the major condos and many of the golf courses here in the area, and Edwin Watts and some of the other golf shops are carrying a copy of the guide. So whether you get one sent to you or whether you pick one up when you're down here, make sure you go to southcoastgolfguide.com and check it out. My good friend, Mr. Jonathan Laird, will take very good care of you. Thank you to Meredith Kirk as well from Meredith Kirk Golf, Nikki and Tiffany Litherland. Thank you for all of your help and support in spreading the word of the show. Mr. Bernie Pinder, the owner and founder of Ontic Golf. Thank you, Bernie, for all of your continued support over the years. Mr. Sean Kelly from linkedgolfers.com, and, of course, my good friend, Mr. Peter Doyle from Doyle Golf Solutions over in Ireland. Thank you, Peter, for all of your continued support. And I will be back next Thursday with another round of Coach's Corner. We'll be coming back next Thursday, plus another interesting guest. So, again, thank you to all of my guests this evening, and thank you to the listeners for tuning in. God bless everybody. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you next week right here on Golf Talk Live.